Good morning. I am going to do a brief video on the reclarification of the 80-20 rule. It is found in the Eaglegate and Provo College Handbook, and you would find this on page 14. So we will scroll down to page 14. This is the area where we talk about plagiarism. Okay, so the first part is talking about plagiarism. There were no changes to that area. The changes came to the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is used to help students write discussions and papers in their own words. Again, a reminder that these students are learning to use APA format and learning how to write papers and use quotes, etc. So the 80-20 rule is a way to guide them in that way. And what it says is that at least 80% of their assignment, discussion, or other work has to be in their own words. And it has to be their own, they have to be the own creator. There's a sidebar to this, and that is if a student is using a paper from a previous class and has not claimed it as their own, that would be self-plagiarism. But I'm here to discuss the 80-20 rule today. So the 80-20 rule falls into two categories. Number one, the first category is that students should use good judgment when they're using a quote. And if their quote is more than 20%, they would lose points in the second criteria of the grading rubric. And that would be, they would get a 0 for that. The easiest way to do, to see if a person is violating the 80-20 rule is to, what I would do here is just to highlight the entire post, put it on a Word doc, and then look at the bottom and you'll see the number of words. Please take out the citation before you highlight it, because the citation does not count towards the quote or towards the discussion. So take that out. We know sometimes citations can be very long and words can add up quickly. Once you've determined the length of the post, then highlight what the student, for example, if this was a quote, then just highlight what the student has written and then determine if it falls under the 80-20 rule. An easy example is if a student has 100 words and they have over 20 words in their post, then they would violate the 80-20 rule. I have had students complain to me in the past that they had 22 words, and why am I so strict? Well, there has to be a cutoff point. And if we are consistent with every student, we have to stick to the specific 80-20 rule and just explain to them that for matters of consistency, we cannot say 1 or 2 or 5 extra words aren't included in the 80-20 rule. Then it would be the 80-25 rule or something like that. So please be consistent in that. And again, please take out the citation. The citation does not belong as part of the discussion or the quote. In addition, if your student has included the question at the top of their discussion, please do not include that. That is not a part of their own discussion. The other area that I'd like to talk about is when they're quoting, but it is not cited or referenced. Remember, in criteria 1, the student would lose points for missing a citation or missing a reference. So this is in the case where neither one is included, and then that would be a clear case of plagiarism, and they would receive a 0 for the entire post. There is another example that I did want to show you, and here. So sometimes I'm reading a post and I just suspect that it's not really in the student's own words. And an easy way to determine that, and the student actually has his in quotes, although this is not a good example because he did use a dictionary, but if I'm reading along and let's say I read this and all of a sudden I think this is not quoted or cited, it's just in the student's own post, and I think the language has changed, it sounds like it's too high of a level, I highlight it, I right click on it, and it will take me to Google, and then it will show me possible areas where the student might have found that information. And that way you can back it up and say, I saw this in your post. It appears to be not in your own language, and that would be a plagiarism problem. If that happens, then the student needs to be told the grade, emailed the grade. Some students don't read their feedback. So please email them, and you need to counsel them. This would, if that is a first time offense. If it continues, you would be following the different violations regarding plagiarism. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I think this is a great addition to our grading rubric, and it really helps the student without punishing the student in helping them grow in their nursing education. One final part to this policy is that when you're grading, you would not put speaker notes or discussion threads through Turnitin because there's not consistency among everyone. Unitech has decided that, excuse me, that those two things are not acceptable parts of grading. So please be aware of that. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know.